Sure. Cordell Adams. I was born in East Texas. As a matter of fact, I call my hometown Jacksonville, Texas. I think they still call me a homeboy, so that's all right. That's what I'm gonna claim. But anyway, I'm the youngest of 3 kids. My parents are Claude and Cordell Adams, both deceased, and my sister and brother are still living. I'm 7 years apart between my brother, and then 7 years apart between my sister. So needless to say that when the 3 of us are together, we have a problem about who's in control, and it's usually not me. Okay. You know how that works. How I got to Dallas. I got to Dallas by way of, I knew that when I was training for medical school, medical school was here in Texas, in Baylor College of Medicine in Houston. So luckily I was able to go off and do some training in terms of academic and clinical training in ophthalmology. My area of specialty in medicine is ophthalmology. So I got a chance to be on the East Coast. And then I did my ophthalmology residency and fellowship in UCLA. So when I came through, or actually when I got through, kind of always wanted to come back to Texas. My mother was still living. My father died in '85. My very last year or my semester of medical school, when I was 24 years old, it was kind of tough to lose your parent, and I thought, I'm the last of the kids. I want him to see what I can do. I want him seeing all this stuff. So of course my tears at the funeral were all about, woe is me. Oh, I didn't do all the things I wanted to prove to my father. But I think he's kind of looking over me and letting me know that he's perhaps maybe gives me a little pat on the back that I did all right. But I came back to Texas because my mother was still living, and I always wanted to be in a city in Texas. I did a fellowship in glaucoma, and I think it thrives best in a big city. There was Dallas, there was Austin, who I was concentrating, or the cities that I was concentrating on. And being in Dallas, I knew that there was this huge community, larger city, closer to where I'm from, Jacksonville, where my mother was living at the time. And then Austin. Austin has a great community to be in, but medically wise, it wasn't quite what I needed for my area of specialty. So no regrets being in Dallas. I've been at Baylor since 1992.
Can you tell me a little bit about that, about coming to Dallas in 1992 and what you found, what you saw here? And
one thing that actually brought me to Dallas is that I was kind of, I say recruited, before I got through my fellowship. You know, you have these meetings that you go through ophthalmology, and I kind of the word got out that I wanted to come back to Dallas. So there was this practice that was interested in terms of me coming on board and being a glaucoma subspecialist for the practice and general ophthalmology as well. So in coming here, it gave me an opportunity to start and be in this downtown area that you could absolutely have all these people from a referral basis. That's one thing I was thinking about from Dallas versus Austin. Austin has these communities of medicine that take care of themselves, don't get me wrong. But I knew being a subspecialist that I'd need people to feed me from their practices, in which Baylor provided me for this practice. When I bought the practice of the predecessor, Dr. Eunice Stanfield, she had about 6,000 charts. So I am presently on chart number 25,000 and counting. Now, whether or not they come in for one time only or come back for a follow-up or just to be seen. And I knew that I didn't want to do just glaucoma. I would probably be bored having one particular specialty in ophthalmology, looking at high pressures causing nerve damage and vision decreasing in patients, versus people that I kind of wanted to see. I just wanted somebody to come in and try on a purple contact. You know, let's see what you look like in a blue contact. Let's see about the little bitty things that we need to take care of, the important things, the diabetic community, the glaucoma community. All of these kind of areas, as you think about them, glaucoma, diabetes, kind of concentrate on can actually be a little bit worse in the minority community. So being downtown Baylor, they would be fed from downtown, South Dallas, West Dallas, East Dallas. So I got a chance to have a practice that's very mixed. About 40% of my practice is I'd say 40% of my practice is probably white, 40% is probably African American, and the other 20% can be about perhaps maybe 10% Hispanic, maybe 15%, and the other 5%, I get everything. So I like it. It's diverse.
No, that's incredible. And kind of going back a little bit, you just mentioned it, how it's allowed you to work with communities and sectors of the city that you wouldn't have had a chance to if you were placed in any other location aside from where you are. And kind of going back into your medical school career, becoming a doctor, just a bit, how was navigating medical school and coming into this field as an African American, as a Black man, and your journey to becoming a doctor?
When I think I was in 10th grade, and I'd always done things, I wouldn't say medicine-wise, but I have a love for the arts, love for music, love for theater, love for intramural sports. I'm not tall enough for big basketball. Fast in the sense of ran track, and actually in terms of grade school and elementary and junior high. But by the time period I thought about what I wanted to do, I needed a city environment. So coming to Dallas and having a city environment would give me the chance of all those things that I do love. I love medicine, but I don't live and breathe it. Medicine is my profession, but not my life. So it's the way I make a living, but not the way I live my life. So with these other interests that I had, the music, the theater, I suddenly also realized that when I first got here in 1992, remember we had a huge health crisis.
Yes, we did.
My patients, when I left UCLA, those that I kept were dying. And I had a reputation, of people would send patients to me for routine eye exams, and of course that sometimes includes a retinal exam, and some of the AIDS crisis that was happening there. When I would lose patients, I figured I've got to realize it was going to be wherever I went. Knowing that I would come to Dallas, it was also going to be there. And so when you meet the community of the doctors that would refer you patients, it would be for these eye exams that you need to absolutely take care of the medical part, whether or not it's HIV or along that line. And so I didn't want a practice that got labeled. But I was glad that I actually had the subspecialty, the doctors that were, medical doctors that were comfortable sending these patients to me to look at their exams. And I realized that they needed not just an eye exam, but they needed still a sense of purpose. When you're actually at that point, you realize that maybe you have been given a death sentence. It doesn't have to mean that you have been given your lack of wanting to still be in the life. So part of that exam was pretty easy, diagnosing what was going on with the eye. 10, 12 minutes eye exam, 2 minutes it takes to look at the eye, 10 minutes, I needed to talk to the person. We needed to hold hands. We needed a hug. We needed something to actually let you know that I still love you, no matter what is going on. You did it with all you have. You fought it with all you have. So I told a lot of patients goodbye. That was not what I thought about in terms of medicine was supposed to be. I did not choose a specialty that people die on you. So I didn't become a cardiovascular surgeon, which is what I thought I was going to do when I went to medical school. I went to Baylor, known for its cardiovascular hospital, and Dr. DeBakey and all the other people that came before me. In terms of that cardiovascular, but one of the things that I did decide on when I was there is that I saw the cardiovascular surgeon on a rotation. I was, at the time period, a medical student. And I remember one fellow in cardiovascular surgery handing his keys off to the next fellow, and it says that while I'm here in the hospital this month, will you water my plants? I'm not going to be in a hospital for a month. I needed to choose a specialty that did not let me be in a hospital for a month because I had this life. So ophthalmology was perfect for that. Well, and the fact is that doing something for the community, these people that were dying with these AIDS patients, I knew that there were so many organizations that were trying to get started. One of the things that I founded here in Dallas was an event called Christmas in July. And my Christmas in July event was designed for the people that had been affected or were doing something for the people in AIDS. When you absolutely have a passion about something, it's something that you either participate in, it's something that you either believe in, or there's something you're either concerned about. And that concerned about was either to right a wrong, or to something that is right, continue what's doing right, or something that you want to make a change about. So that the Christmas in July event, we raised money in the community for people here, for people that needed things. So I have this need to make sure people still got taken care of. It's an inherent duty. It's thing that you realize that those that are less fortunate of you, or less fortunate than you, need you. What can I do? Well, I can put my name on something. I can get people to participate. You give them a great party to come to. You give them a donation, let them do a donation, and you absolutely feed these people or give them something that they need. Do they need food? Do they need shelter? Well, the AIDS Services of Dallas at that time period was a young organization. I think they had maybe $1 million budget. But getting $25 to $50,000 from the private community said a lot. So I felt like I was doing something. Well, that was the fact is of using what I needed to do from my health standpoint. Well, you can also take that as well to other organizations. I knew I needed to do something in the health-wise. That's what I do. But my love for the arts, theater, we got involved in several organizations. I'm on the advisory board of Booker T. Washington. So I always go to that. When you go to those things and you do these advisory committees, I realized that there were students there. When they take these students in the community, they're there because of their wonderful ability to, or the visual arts, or their theater, or they're able to sing, or they're able to play these instruments. But they would be able perhaps maybe to go to these interviews, and maybe they didn't have a white shirt. Maybe they didn't have a black tie. They needed me as well. I've got this same group of people that donated to people medically. Let's donate to do something for our youth. I wanted people, here we are from the equity standpoint, I want you to absolutely look at this person that is interviewing for this job and realize that, one, he can do the exact same person that came in here looking like he's been dressed to the nines. I want their talent. It's up to you and me to get you to that you're absolutely considered in terms of equitable, but it's up to you in terms of to outshine them in terms of your voice versus his, or her voice versus this, or that instrument. So there's that equality and equity kind of combined, but at least we wanted to give them a shot. We can help you get to the point. So that was the part about in terms of doing something in terms of the other organizations. I got my love for health, got my love for the arts. Never ever leave out in terms of how you develop your spirituality. Your spirituality, for me, comes from where I grew up. I grew up in East Texas. Of course, church was a part of everything we did. I don't always say that the best way to be spiritual is through religion, but it's kind of the way I learned how to be spiritual. Sure. You know, if you're actually, your spirit is of God, or your belief is in God, or your value system came from that. What's most important is not so much the religion part later, it's your spirituality, how you develop your individual beliefs about something that you grew up with, and make that work for you. I have a feeling one day that we're all going to be together, and we're not going to ask anybody what religion you came from. We're going to all ask somebody in terms of what did you do for somebody when you could? Right. What did you do to make a difference? Yep, that. I probably answered more than you asked me.
And that's absolutely okay.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we needed to keep going in the direction of. So no, wonderful.
Tell me to shut up when you need to. Sorry.
No, trust. That was wonderful, and we're having a conversation, so that's what I wanted to. Yeah.
Well, you asked me to talk about me. I figured the best subject that I knew the most about is probably me. Yeah. Yeah, but not always one that I like to talk about, but I can do that one pretty well.
So, we talked about the work and your love and how the many facets of you have connected to create who we know and are regarded as Dr. Cordell in the community, right? Can you talk about what you're hoping that future generations do based on the work that you have done? And we'll go back and forth and we'll touch on that question again just a little bit, but I want to kind of start thinking about that. Like, what are you hoping comes next? What are you hoping to see?
When you have my desire that I thought in terms of, let's just go back to in terms of the things about for the future. Yeah. I always had a rule in my household. My parents always told me, Cordell, you can do anything you want. But there was a clause behind it. You could do anything you want as long as you get out of this house. So that told me that I needed to find something that I could make a living from. Medicine was perfect. I did think in the 10th grade there was this decision about, do I see myself in terms of trying to make it on Broadway? Do I see myself trying to have a music career? Do I see myself in theater career? But I was too afraid not to use that left side of my brain. It's almost like when I tell these, I get every 9th and 10th grade student at Booker T. Washington in a conference room when the other seniors are absolutely going for their big interviews and going off to school. I tell them in terms of their 9th and 10th grade that you are here because of what your right brain does. Some of you are incredible artists, great singers, great all these things, but the way you're going to make it through life is how you make that left brain useful for what you want to do with that right brain. Some of you in this room, I tell them as well, are going to be the best attorneys in town, going to be the best accountants in town, the best bookkeepers in town, the best doctors in town. So that interest that you're here from this arts or this theater or this music or this fine arts high school is going to be the way that you perhaps maybe enjoy your life. So my thing is that one of the things that I think from the things that absolutely gives the future generation, you realize I talked about in terms of what I did for the people that come to my office. That I don't have a choice about. So the things that I do have a choice about, let me go talk to the young people. Let me go talk to somebody. I don't think I need to tell the 80-year-olds how to live their life. I don't think I need to tell the 70-year-olds. But I can maybe talk to a 9th and 10th grader. So in terms of, I tell them in terms of, we need you for what you want to be in terms of to be good at it. If you don't see your name in lights, doesn't mean that you don't need to light up somebody's life. First of all, start with yours. So these youth today, I'm sure you've heard this over and over in terms of the complaints about the millennials. I'm just going to say it out there out loud. That subject, the millennials. I have a couple of nephews. I have a nephew and a niece whom I love, love, love to death. But it's not just across the board. I always tell people that this sense of entitlement that sometimes people get labeled in terms of with this millennials. Well, we got labeled. We're baby boomers. You know, and then the generation under me, the Gen X, there's a thing you can always tell them what to do and tell them in terms of what you want done, but you can't quite tell them how to do it. Let them do that. And the millennials wise have to do things at their pace. Well, the things that whatever you do, if you're going to learn it from a phone, if you're going to learn it wherever, however, the terms of the stigma that goes along with, just get it. But the fact is, this generation, I absolutely tell my niece and my nephews that I'm counting on them to keep making a difference. If you don't make a difference, we don't have a choice. You've got to absolutely be much more concerned about, they say that this generation, the millennials, can be a little selfish. Well, I don't care about you being selfish as long as the fact is that what you need to get taken care of in terms of on that end, but make sure that you've actually, after you do that, pass that on. I don't believe you could ever get something filled in your hand or something given to you or an ability to that if you don't open that hand up. Something has to be poured out. Poured out down the road. Poured out to the ones coming behind you. Poured out to the ones that actually that you talk to. Poured out to the ones that you socialize with. Feed everybody that needs to be fed. So the younger generation, I do have all kinds of hope that things are going to be right, and I like the young generation for that. I talked about the millennials, about the plus minus part. Well, the plus part about it is that I admire the younger generation in terms of, if you don't like it, they don't do it. If they don't like something in terms of, I got to change something. I don't like this job. I'm going to absolutely stop doing this and go find something I like. I need to go do something else. As opposed to my generation, I think we stuck with things way, way, way too long, and sometimes we get a little unhappy because we've been at something too long. So there's pluses and minuses about our youth coming up. And that's one of the things that I do like them. The fact is that, this doesn't fit right. Where's my equal pay? Where is my this I need to be doing for? I've been doing the same job and et cetera. And there's no questions about some of the things that they want in terms of you've got to be equitable. You've got to do the right thing in terms of to make sure they're pleased, because their fact is that if they don't not pleased, they're going to stop doing what they do. Yep. So I've got high hopes for everything that's coming behind me. I've got high hopes for those that are even further behind them. I'm just using this as an example. Mm-hmm. The generation that comes in sometimes that gets their eyes checked, and there's something about, of course, the baggy pants, saggy pants, underwear showing. So you want to come in and sit at my chair and get your eyes checked. One of the things that I tell them when they come in terms of before you sit down, can you bring your pants up? And so, like this, I'm hurting their style, I guess so. said, tell me something in terms of what are you doing? This is 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds. I said, what are you doing with yourself in terms of what do you want to do? Well, I want to do this, I want to do that. No, I said, you're working now? Yeah, I'm kind of looking for whatever. I said, you know what? You might get that job a little quicker if there's a little bit different presentation you presented when you first walk in for that interview. Sometimes saggy pants sometimes says saggy worker. Sometimes baggy pants says baggy worker. So when I actually ask you to sit in that chair in terms of bring your pants up, it tells me that I have a little certain standard for somebody that I'm about to talk to, and that person that you may be interviewing for that job may have one too. Just be prepared. Yeah, and then your parents call them later and says, I don't know what you said to my son. I don't know what you said to my daughter or whatever. But oh, whatever it did, whatever Dr. Adams, do it again. Do it again. So I raise kids sometimes are in the office. That other uncle that they didn't ask for. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Fair enough. So, and we're gonna go back just a little bit.
Sure.
So we talked about the future. Presently, as you're looking at kind of the landscape and we're looking at where we were, right? You said you moved here in '92. We were in a pandemic, we were in a crisis, an epidemic at that point here in the city. How do you see the fight or the movement of equity now in your community, in the work that you do? How do you see it being represented, or what do you see needs to be worked at, or where do we need to lean into more spaces?
I had when you first get here and you get asked about different organizations to join, let's say 92, 93, I say join or things that you absolutely, things you're concerned about, things you participate in, yeah, things you believe in. And a lot of those groups at that time period that I was being asked about, I started looking into what do I do for the LGBT community of what it was at that time period. Well, I wouldn't even say at 92 it was LGBT. Let's just say gay and lesbian. That's what you knew. And if you didn't have those two categories, but still though, I say categories you were identified in, but still you felt like you needed to be doing something. Even if you may not have even identified with either one of those two, there was something about that community that attracted to you or attracted you to doing something for that community. I had it in my office. I see it in my life. So I felt like, let me do something in terms of the things that were going on. There was a big organization at the time period here in Dallas called the Federal Club. And the Federal Club was an organization that contributed to Human Rights Campaign. Well, when you go inside those rooms at that time period, and even some today, I'm known when I go inside the board meetings now at Baylor to have this saying, the room either looked too pale, too male, and too stale. Too male, too pale, too stale. A lot of old people, a lot of white people, a lot of non-male people. Not enough women, not enough color, and a little bit too old. So what do I see now in terms of some of the boards that I see? We keep working at that, and it looks so much better. I grew up in terms of there was always not a big deal about it, but you get labels sometimes of the things you did about you're the first at something. First black valedictorian, first member on this board, first member of this community to serve in that. You know, I serve as the chief of my department at Baylor University Medical Center. African American, gay, at Baylor. Known initially when I got here in 1992, the Good Old Boy Network. I grew up in East Texas. I was used to good old boy networks. If there was something that I liked, something that I believed in, something that I was concerned about, I never used anything about skin color, never used anything about what deficit I had to not strive for something that I wanted. My mother told every one of her children when we were young, the very first thing that people see when you walk into a room is the color of your skin. It's natural. You see it, I see it. Somebody walks into that room, that's what you notice. As soon as they open their mouth, it usually tells you whether or not you want to know them, get to know them, see what they're about. But it's a perception. So she said, never, ever, ever miss that first opportunity to make that first impression. And so the organizations now, I'm so happy about all the strides that we have made. I'm happy about the strides that other people have made in terms of acceptance. We're not there yet completely, but the fact is that we are better. We are not where we were in 1992. We're not where we were in 1962. The things that I do know, the people that came on before me had a much more difficult job of being who they were in public. Then the generation I had, I thought we were pretty good in terms of actually what we had access to. Then I look at what the people 20 years younger than me, 20 years younger than them, have access to. Marriage, equality. That GL at the time period, maybe 1992, expanded to LGBT. Then that still is not enough. It's LGBTQIA plus. I don't know how many more letters we need, but somewhere in there we ought to be able to identify. It's a great thing. I just don't know what all the absolute in terms of the differences are sometimes, but if people feel like they're included by whatever letters there are, we're on board. I like when the boards, the organizations, find room in terms of that. I was a narrator for a Dallas Way event, and I said this actually for one of the things that I believed in. I realized that there is DEI. I want the E part to be double sometimes. And I say, I totally get diversity. I totally get equity. I totally get inclusion. But sometimes we need that equality, not maybe a part of it. It's too many letters by all means, but I like for that E for me to be a double thing. I want to be considered equitable. I want to be considered equal. And I want that for any organization that I'm a part of. So it's getting much better. I like the way it looks. There's still room for improvement. And the fact is that we have these other things that we need to do. I don't think we just need to strive for the things that we do ourselves. If I wasn't a part of some of the other organizations, I'm just using this as an example, Forest Forward, that we try to solve for or we try to derive for the community of the South Dallas community. They need equitable housing. They need something in terms of to stay in that area that looks like them. I have a real estate, I have a business, the City Core Group Properties, that strives for the southern community of Dallas in terms of housing, getting it looking like that in terms of your, I want you to look in terms of feel from the area that I'm trying to develop, that actually in terms of I need your house to be something that you're just as proud of to be in this community as if you were in way, way, way North Dallas or the newer communities. So, you know, and that has nothing to do with sexuality. It has nothing to do with spirituality. You just want people to feel equitable and equal.
Is there anything that you want us to specifically know, remember, share with us that you would like for us to be recorded?
I think the thing that drives me and the things that I do, I don't get a thrill sometimes out of looking in the mirror and seeing what Cordell has done, is doing. I think it kind of comes naturally. I think I get my biggest thrill about touching somebody in the way that I think that they need to be touched, in terms of to lift them up. That's kind of where you get your basis for living, being. I'm always going to find a way that if there's something that is hurting, they try to heal it. Something that needs mending, mend it. Something that absolutely needs touched, touch them. Part of the things I know that we do in our office, it doesn't have to be this way, but I think that people come to my office and they need hugs. Well, I tell them, these hugs today are 10 for a penny, you know what I mean? And, you know, I just need you to pay up. You know, it's not a part of your copay, you know what I mean? Whatever, it gets a laugh out of it. But I was told as well that when I first started medical school, I've always had this desire to make sure that somebody else is pleased. Do I need to please them from a health standpoint? Do I need to make them happy from the standpoint of the way they feel about themselves? do I need to make them feel about in terms of their accomplishments? So in that regard, I think that what I need to do for me is that I don't always quote things, whatever, but there's something that I always like to give as a toast, or at least or something that I believe in. And the fact is that I want to make sure that whenever I'm asked about did I do something right, so there's a little poem that I kind of always keep in the back of my mind. And I think it's a matter of, so you're actually comfortable in terms of what you've done. I think the author was unknown at one time, but I think it came from a British, person that wrote this later, Pete Winsborough or something along that line. I need to check that last name. But it says something about when you get what you want in your struggle for self, and the world makes you this king for a day, you go to the mirror and you look at yourself and you see what that man has to say. For it isn't your father or mother or wife whose judgment upon you must pass. The fellow whose verdict that counts most in your life is the one staring back from the glass. Some people may think you're a straight shooting chum and call you a wonderful guy, but the man in the mirror says you're only a bum if you can't look him straight in the eye. For he's the one to please, never mind all the rest, for he's with you clear up to the end. And you've passed your most dangerous, most difficult task if the man in the glass is your friend. You may fool the whole world with this pathway of years and get pats on the back as you pass. But your final reward will be heartache and tears if you've cheated the man in the glass. I wasn't supposed to cry.